It's 5 o'clock. I'm calling to order the meeting of the Parks, Recreation, Human Services, and Public Safety Committee. I'm Jack Walsh, the committee chair, and joining us remotely is committee member Lydia Sefadossan. And here on the here we have Council President Kochmar and Council Member McDaniel. And we'll go ahead and get started. To begin with, is there any public comment?
Yes, we have one. We have Monty Stewart, and he is representing the Parks and Recreation Commission, so he will have 5 minutes to speak.
Okay, thank you.
Before we start, can you excuse Council Member Susan Hunt?
Oh, yes, also we excuse Council Member Susan Honda, who is not able to be with us also, and she's a member of the committee, and so she is excused.
Good evening, committee members, council members, and staff. Really appreciate the opportunity to be here. I'm here on behalf of the entire commission, the Parks and Recreation Commission, and of course, George Vedino, who's the chair, and Karen Brigado, who's the vice chair. We have two topics in front of you. The first one is called the Wind Phone, which I will explain, and then the other one is a special event work guide. So first, do you have the packets that I had presented? Do you have those in front of you? Good. Okay, the first one is about the Wind Phone. In Japanese, Katse no Denwa. So what happened was that this wonderful gentleman in Japan, right after the Fukushima tragedy, was pining the loss of his loved ones. And so he built what is essentially a London telephone booth, and you see that in the picture in the front. And he used that to talk to his dearly departed loved ones. That concept just grew like wildfire. It went viral, as they say. Now we have, in this state, we have one in Olympia, and I found out about that, and I talked with Corey Denbeck, who was the one that installed that in Olympia. He came to our commission, did a presentation, and talked to us about how this works. And I have found out now that there is at least one, and in some cases 6 of these types of procedures in phone installations in virtually all of our states, and in the Netherlands, France, all over the place. So it's a very popular thing. People like to be able to have a way to express themselves to loved ones, and it's been a very cathartic experience for many people. So if you look at the brochure, Mr. Dembeck is on the bottom of the first page. On the second page, it's just some pictures of examples of how people put them in, and on the third page, the same thing. So it's simply just, it can be a box enclosing a phone, it can be an open box with a stand or a pole, and sort of against a tree or wherever it is a nice, quiet, secluded place that people feel comfortable to do this. If you look at the last page, there are 2 pictures there. The first picture has to do with Dumas. Karen and I went and took a look at it, and we felt that that was probably the best place to install this. And the second likely place is over in Haile-Bosse, about 100 yards away from 348. They're both lovely locations, secluded enough that people can enjoy themselves. To me, it's a wonderful opportunity to do something unique, different, and be able to bring the community in saying, you know, we're not just doing the same old, we're doing something different here. Now, on the special event work guide, this has to do with a project that is being done in Kirkland, Bellevue, Issaquah, Medina, and more cities here. The subject of religious expression is deeply rooted within Federal Way and its population. We all are proud of how diverse our community is particularly. We have over 104 languages now spoken in the schools. That diversity is something that we are encouraging, particularly as we develop this town and the trains come in and people get off the train anticipating a wonderful time in Federal Way. We want to be able to have something for them besides just a tree in the park, something somewhere, or however we decide, that makes them welcome in a diverse way. We're only asking for items and things and studies and plans that involve families with great values and are willing to become involved in everything we're doing. We on the commission are now starting to take a pretty active role in actually a hands-on work with the committee and this commission. So I think it's really important that we at least consider with this work guide what we can do to open up a little more in the way of art. And if you will see in here, there are just 4 examples. Kirkland's Special Events Services Guide. I won't go through that now, but you can read through it at your leisure. It's very interesting what they're doing. And like other projects, it seems to be growing. There's an article in the paper by Keith Livingston. He always writes a good article. That's there. Then that's it. We have a good program for you. Any questions?
Any, yeah, Council President Honda.
If you wanted to carry this forward, what are your plans? Do you want to send this through committee to have somebody
Are we talking about the wind phone?
the wind phone?
Yeah, well, we've talked about all the possibilities here. Now, putting it on the work plan, we can go back to the committee. Karen and I have already done the scouting on this, and we'll go back, and as a committee, we can say, okay, this is how we want to set it up at these locations. Now, depending on the location, it's really pretty easy. Corey Dembeck has a little plan for us where we can simply, that you can have a post that is cemented in the ground, just a simple post. There'll be a plaque there explaining it, and possibly a covering, because it rains a lot here, so we'll have a nice covering on it. And I think in the 2 locations we looked at, one of the things we don't have to worry too much about is vandalism and that kind of thing. These are locations that I think will be a lot better managed.
So, so there would be a cost involved and some work involved and agreement with the council to do it.
There will be no cost involved. We will, I'll go by the phone. And we have plenty of handy people, Jerry and others, that can build things. We'll build it, put it together. We thought it up, we got it going, and we'll see it through. So there's no cost involved.
Right. You said that you didn't think there'd be a problem with vandalism. In Hylabos, there are problems with vandalism. That there's definite problems with vandalism in Hylabos. I don't know about Dumas Bay, but anyway, I have concerns. I have concerns there. You know, what works in Japan and what works here can be 2 very, very different things. Just a little less than a year ago, I was in Japan and Korea with some of the council and city staff, and there it is amazing what you can have in public areas and with 0 vandalism, with 0 problems, with 0 anything, and you put the same thing here, and it's a magnet for problems. And I am definitely concerned about that.
All I can say is that there are 6 in California, and California is not unlike us.
Yep.
And then we also, really all of the states, and they have their unique problems, but basically, I don't think anybody is saying this just didn't work. So all I can tell you is it has worked extensively, and we'd really like to do it.
Okay. All right.
Can I comment?
Yes, Councilmember Assefa Dawson.
Yeah. Thank you so much, and I do love the idea, and I like what I just read about it being a one-way. I feel like sometimes we just want to scream and shout and yell at nothing because we're frustrated. We don't have anywhere to vent. So I really appreciate the idea. I do hear Chair Members Walsh's concern about vandalism, and so it would be something that would have to be monitored regularly and also probably replaced or changed. And those both sites, because there's an email today about Dumas Bay and what happened over the weekend. And so considering all that, because Dumas Bay, the idea sounds great, by the water, you're sitting there, you know, looking at, I mean, using this equipment just to talk. So I like the idea. The vandalism is real, a valid concern and reason. So, but I would hate for it to not move forward. I know this is information only, but I would hate for you to not explore opportunities and options. So that's my comment. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, Councilmember McDaniel.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with this moving it forward. I don't think we should let the vandalism possibility even hinder our idea on making that change. If we do that, then also we're going to slowly stop doing a lot of things that we would do just in case it does get damaged. I'd rather put it out there for people to enjoy, and if it does get damaged, then it's one more thing that we can talk to the citizens about, like, are you accepting this? I don't think it's acceptable. So I would not allow the vandalism to pause us from moving forward with it. I think it's worthwhile. That's it. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much.
All right, and
I would
Council
like to
President.
see it move forward too. So if you put it in your work plan and bring it forward, maybe do a little bit more work on, whether you're going to oversee it or, I know one thing, that when people are in deep grief, anything to help them through that is a good thing. And so sometimes people will write something on a note and send it up in the air or burn it, whatever, but maybe just, it's very cathartic to get your feelings out. And talking on the phones feels like they might still be there. But whatever it is to help people through their grief, I think it's a wonderful thing. So, yeah.
all right.
Councilwoman, we're committed to shepherding that and to make sure that it's a good project and it's well overseen, so there aren't any of those problems. And besides, those old phones are really cheap.
I bet there's a bunch of them out there.
All right, and thank you for your service on the commission.
You bet.
All right, any other public comment?
No.
Okay, that takes us to item A, approval of the January 9, 2024 minutes. And Councilmember Asefa Dawson, I think it's just you and me on the committee. And so would you like to make a motion on that?
I can make the motion to approve the minutes from January 9th, 2024.
And I will,
As written.
and I will second it. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
I wasn't here, so I'm going to abstain.
Okay, all right. One vote in favor and one abstention, and do we need to, what are the,
Well, since we don't have Councilmember Hondo with us today, we do have to have a vote from Councilmember Asefa Dawson in order to proceed,
Okay.
or from the council president.
So I can vote.
You could vote as well, but simply because you were not present for the meeting doesn't keep you from voting to approve minutes. That is.
Okay. I've read it. I just wasn't here, so I didn't know, I wasn't sure if everything's been captured, so I can go ahead and second it.
okay, so that's an aye from Councilmember
Yeah.
Asefa Dawson then.
Yes.
Okay, all right. It's approved unanimously then. All right, next, item B, sound the alarm. That's something that the project of the Red Cross and Director Pelly. What,
All right.
go ahead.
So I am the city's emergency manager, Kevin Pelly, and like to introduce the Join the American Red Cross to Sound the Alarm, Save a Life. We've got 3 members of the Red Cross here. I'll let them introduce themselves. Come up to the dais, please.
Hi, I'm Soo Hoon Tan.
Christy Merrill. Ashley Jose.
All right. And I will let them give a brief overview of what Sound the Alarm is, and then we'll go on to how Federal Way can participate in it.
Thank you, Kevin. So the American Red Cross has been doing this campaign called Sound the Alarm. It's part of our home fire safety campaign. And the Sound the Alarm is our signature event that we do once a year. And we are here representing the King County Red Cross. And this year we are targeting Federal Way. We have identified 2 manufactured home parks in Federal Way. It'll be Belmore Park and Charwood Park. And we would like to come out on April 27th to install free smoke alarms in residential homes. So this program, essentially, we rally volunteers And then we go around and knock on residents' homes, and we offer home fire safety education to residents in their homes. We'll actually talk through kind of an education plan on how to come up with an escape plan in case of a fire and be out of your home in 2 minutes. And we'll go through and check every room to see if your smoke alarms are working. If you need new smoke alarms, we'll install free ones in your homes. And this is at no cost to the individuals, and our smoke alarms are guaranteed for 10 years. So on April 27th, we will be rallying volunteers, and if anyone would like to volunteer, Mr. Pelly here has more information on it. But we are really excited to partner with South King Fire and also with Kevin Pelly on this project. And I'll let Christy share a little bit on more of the program.
Thank you. So this opportunity is really a community-based opportunity in helping with these families. Last year, just here in SeaTac, we had a family group home that we installed smoke alarms for, and a few months afterwards, by darn, that smoke alarm went off, and the individual that was home was sleeping, and it alerted this individual, and because of the information that was given to him, a plan on how to get out safely, he was able to get out, and it saved his life. And we have this throughout the nation. We have today over 2,000 lives that have been spared due to the alarms that have been installed. I wanted to impress upon you guys how exciting it is to work with Federal Way. You guys have welcomed us with open arms, and we really, really appreciate your support and hope that we can make this a community event. We've got the news media that we're working on. Chief Cheney is helping with this as well, and it's going to be an amazing event for Federal Way. So thank you very much.
Okay.
So 2 days here in Federal Way. The week prior, the 20th, the team's going to come down, and they're going to do a walkthrough of the two parks. So we, as Federal Way, I will sponsor them. They're going to use the council chambers that Saturday as kind of their rally point, where they're going to be able to stage, map things out, train their volunteers, and then go out and go door to door and invite people to participate from the two parks. And then on the 27th, that's when we can really get involved. Same thing, we can meet here. They're going to come here early at 7, get staged, make sure they prep their folks so that at what time do the volunteers arrive? At 8:30, we're asking all of our volunteers to arrive here. They'll get trained, they'll be divided into teams, and then they'll go out and help the fire department and the Red Cross volunteers to actually install the volunteers, the smoke alarms going door to door. So our participation as Federal Way is twofold. One, we're providing the space and sponsoring it. And number two, we're trying to rally some volunteers. So our CERT volunteers will participate, and then we're also going to ask in general through Federal Way. I'll have it at our desk at the State of the City address, and we'll work through our public media to try and get some more volunteers to show up. They're asking for 80 volunteers.
Right, but Federal Way doesn't have to provide.
No. Go ahead, step up to the mic. It's
We'd like
broadcast.
to get as many as we possibly can from Federal Way. I think it's a great opportunity to serve those fellow citizens that live here and to help protect them. We also, I think something we didn't mention is that we plan on going to close to 400 homes that day. So that's why we need to have quite a few people that we can get. And if we could ask for you guys to spread the word and help in getting people excited about it and signing up, we would so appreciate it.
And I understand that you're hoping that some of the people on the dais may be among those volunteers? So, all right. And,
Of course.
yeah. And, I plan on being there, and I can almost guarantee that there might be some others of us, if we can get a commitment out of the mayor,
You guys,
then.
I have to share this with you. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I have to share this with you, is that everyone that has come to participate at the end of the event has come up to us and thanked us for this opportunity. It is very rewarding. So it's something that you walk away with feeling, you know what, I've made a difference in my community today.
All right, thank you, thank you. I thought you were going to say that everybody went there to get a box of Cracker Jacks, but, so.
They
but,
do get a bag lunch.
All right,
Get a
all
Cajun
right.
lunch.
So,
Are there
all
any
right.
other questions?
Any, council member Seffa Dawson, any questions from you? I don't see.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
I do have a
okay.
question. Yeah,
Yes.
my hand's raised. Actually, a comment and a question. You said about 400 households. Households or families? I don't know what you,
Well, households, between the two mobile home parks, trying to reach approximately
so-
400.
yeah, so how is the marketing going to be done? Because I'm sure you're going to do an outreach before you show up. And secondly, as a former interpreter and translator for American Red Cross, I know you do have materials in various languages, hopefully, and that's my second question. Do you have information on various languages so people who are going to be served are aware of what's happening and they can be prepared for it?
Very good questions. Thank you for asking those. So we have been in contact with the park managers. We've communicated with Belmore Park. I went there in January and presented to their board meeting. We've got a few signups already. They're helping us put up flyers. We've got yard signs. And on April 20th, we'll send volunteers out to knock on doors to let people know that we will be out on the 27th to install smoke alarms. And if they would like to pre-sign up, that helps us plan for the number of doors that we know we're going to be able to enter the homes. I've also been in communication with Charwood Park. So we're just working out on like mapping out how we're going to assign our teams and map out each team's route. And then in terms of the multilingual communication, we're working through the park managers to find out if they have residents that speak multiple languages and if they need translators. So we'll, from that information, we'll try to work on recruit volunteers that speak different languages and match up as many teams as we can as possible.
Great.
I hope that
Thank you so
answers your questions.
Yes, thank you.
All right.
So,
Yes.
so how do we let people know where to sign up? Do you have information? Are you going to do an event, Bright, on Facebook or?
So for the residents, I'm working with the park managers. Belmore Park has a newsletter, so I sent them some information to include in the newsletter. It has the sign-up QR code and email that residents can email directly or just go to a form and fill it out online. I also have physical sign-up sheets that's put in their clubhouse, so they can do that.
No, I mean for
For
volunteers.
volunteers. Okay,
Yeah.
for volunteers, Christy actually is our kind of workforce recruitment, so I'll let her talk about it.
Sorry. So Kevin has been so kind to help step in, and for anyone here or the near vicinity, you can talk to Kevin and he'll help you get signed up as well. And then we will start working with them as soon as Kevin gets in contact with us.
Sure. So Kevin, we have service clubs that I know would be interested, and so you might bring that up at our next council meeting, because a lot of people will listen in on the council meetings, and
That would be great. We can take youth 16 and up, but from 16 to 18, they would need to be partnered with someone of age.
Yeah, just a heads up, is the Saturday before that, the 20th, is our Parks Appreciation Day here, and a lot of our most steadfast volunteers in the community will be out working that day, and it may be a little bit more of a challenge to have them out 2 Saturdays in a row, but just a heads up on that. But I'm sure that we'll hopefully can get lots of volunteers nonetheless.
Sure. And of course, I'll be working with our communications team as we launch our new website to make sure we're advertising on that for volunteers as well.
All right.
How about at the State of the City? Are you hosting a table?
I am hosting a table for the CERT, and we'll have volunteer signups for CERT as well as the Sound the Alarm at the State of the City, council member.
Great, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Kevin, and thank you, Red Cross. We appreciate all that you do. All right, and that takes us to our next item, C, Yakima County Jail Agreement for Inmate Housing. Mr. Buchanan.
Good evening. My name is Kyle Buchanan. I'm a commander with the police department. With me, I have Curtis Tucker. He's our jail transport coordinator. He can probably answer most of your questions a lot better than me. So when it comes to that, I'll probably refer you to him. So as you said, I'm here to present the Yakima County Jail Agreement for inmate housing. Policy question in front of you is, should the Federal Way Police Department enter into an agreement with the Yakima County Jail for inmate housing at the cost of approximately $100,000 a year? Just a little background on this. A few years ago, we were using SCORE for almost all of our misdemeanor housing needs with our inmates. When we went away from SCORE, we then had to find other options, other jails for housing for our inmates. We entered into an agreement at the time with Yakima County Jail. About 2 years ago, year and a half ago, Yakima County Jail said we're no longer taking inmates from the west side, and they terminated that contract with us. So we have been using Nisqually Jail for our long-term inmate housing for misdemeanors, and now Yakima County is taking those inmates from the west side again, and so we're looking to go back into an agreement with them. That $100,000 isn't any kind of new money or anything like that. It's coming out of the jail budget. This is just kind of we'll primarily be using Nisqually for all of our long-term housing, but Yakima is going to be a bit of a backup plan. We learned with COVID a couple years ago that it's always a good idea to have as many backup plans as we can. I think that is all. Any questions?
All right. Yes, Councilmember McDaniel.
Yeah. What is the definition of long-term?
So the misdemeanor can be housing up to a year. Any felonies is a year or more. So any sort of misdemeanor housing could be up to a year, and it's usually the inmates that either have been sentenced, so they're doing their sentence. It could be 3-4 months, could be up to a year, or it's those inmates that are being held by the court while they go through the trial process. If it's someone that we go arrest out on the street and we book them in, we don't drive them to Yakima. They go to a local jail first, and then either while they're waiting or after the sentencing, they go to one of the long-term housing jails. So it'd either be Nisqually or Yakima.
Okay. And the last one, what is there a price difference between the two for Nisqually versus Yakima? Is everything a la carte? Like they go in, but anything additional cost like medical and all that stuff is on top of this, or is that covered in the 100K?
It's covered under 100K. Medical is a little bit more if there's medical issues or mental health issues. They do charge us more. Okay. But the price difference between Nisqually and Yakima, it's very close between the two.
Awesome. Thank you.
Councilmember Sefadossin, do you have any questions?
Yes, I do. One is, do we have guaranteed number of beds? And then my other question is, when it talks about business days, meaning Monday through Friday, excluding Yakima County standard holidays, what exactly does that mean? Do they not book people on the weekends? Or I just wanted clarity there. Thank you.
Yeah, let me answer your second question first. So Yakima County does all the transportation for us back and forth. So if we have someone that needs to go over there, they come over here and pick them up. And then once they're released, or if they have court over here, Yakima County will actually bring them over here. So we don't have to drive over to Yakima to pick them up. So I think that's what that is in regards to, is they do that during those business hours, the Monday through Friday. And I'm sorry, what was your first question again?
Do we have number of beds, guaranteed number of beds?
Do you remember?
This is as needed base, this contract is, that's why the number was the set way it was, because we didn't use it much before. The only time we need to use it is if we get overbooked on this side, or if it's somebody that wants to go over that side because they have family over there and they want to be able to meet them during, the visitation hours. So we'll give them a opportunity to do that, just to keep the family together somewhat.
Okay, so it's as needed and we don't have any guaranteed number of beds. Does that mean then we may not use all 100K that we are?
Yeah, anything's possible, yeah. If we don't use it because Nisqually is working for us, then yeah, I'm guessing that money will be left over.
Okay, great, thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Before we vote on it, I have a completely unrelated question,
Sure.
Commander. Just with and I was going to ask the chief this the next time I saw him, but I'll see if you can answer it.
Okay.
I understand that this last In January, I believe there were 18 arrests for drug possession in the city. And just was inquiring, with those arrests, are they immediately booked in jail, or is it booked and released, or what is a lot of citizens are asking what the consequences are, the immediate consequences before it goes to trial?
Unfortunately, I don't have that information in front of me, what happened to them. There's a couple options with those. Either we issue them a citation and release them as a later court date, or they could be booked, and it just depends on the circumstances of kind of what's going on. I can find out for you what happened with those 18. I just don't have that information in front of me.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, if you could find out, that'd be
Sure.
great. That'd be great. All right. So, Councilmember Sefadossin, do we have a motion?
Yes, I move to forward the proposed agreement to the February 20, 2024 consent agenda for approval.
And I second the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, both of you. All right, next item, and also we should have addressed this at the beginning of the meeting, but item J, I believe, the electrical line and fiber optic easement on Lakota Park property, it is being removed from the agenda this evening.
Do you need a motion to remove it from the agenda? You just table it till the next meeting?
You can table it till next meeting. Usually any adjustments to the agenda would happen at the beginning. You can make changes as you go. So if you wanted to do a motion, you can, but I don't think it's necessary at this.
Okay, if you don't think it's necessary, sounds good, so, all right. Okay, item E, report on item D, ARPA Financial Literacy and Workforce Development Amended Grant Terms.
Good evening, committee chair, committee members, council president. This evening, we're going to discuss the ARPA Financial Literacy and Workforce Development Amended Grant Terms. The policy question before you this evening: should council approve 2-year contracts for ARPA Financial Literacy and Workforce Development? This is just kind of a general overview and reminder of human services grant processes. Under human services, we have the Human Services General Fund, the Community Development Block Grant, and the American Rescue Plan Act grants that we are giving out. This evening, we were talking about the ARPA funds. Just as a reminder, we approached council last fall for approval of financial literacy and workforce development grants. The funding approved there is the funding that was approved by council. This approved funding is significantly less than the requested funding. And for this reason, agencies have requested that instead of having a 3-year contract, we have a 2-year contract with them. That just allows them to be able to run the program as fully as they're able to. Human Services Commission also recommended that we allow agencies to move to 2-year contracts rather than 3. And are there any questions?
Questions, Councilmember Sefadossin? You have
No,
any
I don't have
questions?
questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so with the, with the financial literacy, I mean, we made some changes on that a couple of months ago. And how does this impact those changes that we made a couple of months ago?
It really doesn't. The funds that were approved are still the same amount of funds. Nothing there is changing. It's just the length of the contracts that will change. The agencies said that 3 years would be very difficult for them to run the program on reduced funding. So if they received 50% of the programming or 50% of the funds, it'd be very difficult to fund a full staff person with that amount of funds. And so it's not changing any of the grants that were approved, any of the total funding, just the contract length.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember McDaniel.
Yeah, one quick question. When they did the 2 years and dropped the 1 year, was the amount able to get closer to what they actually need for an annual funding of the programs?
Closer.
Gotcha.
Yeah, as you can see on the PowerPoint here, it's not quite where they were requesting. But these three agencies did say that it'd be doable in 2 years.
Is that a crested amount? Is that for a 3-year program, though?
Correct.
Okay, just wanted to check. Thank you.
Okay. All right. No other questions? Do we have a motion?
Sure. I move to forward the proposed financial literacy and workforce amendment grant terms to the February 2024 consent agenda for approval.
And I second the motion. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
It passes unanimously. Thank you very much. All right. And next, item E, report on the PAC operations. And Mr. Hoffman.
Good evening. I don't know what I'm doing here, to be very frank.
Autumn to the rescue.
On how to find,
Here she comes.
oh, look at that. Autumn, as usual, has set me up for success. Look at that. Thank you, Autumn. Good evening, everyone. How are you today? Brian Hoffman here with Oakview Group, reporting on December 2023 PAC updates and operations, as well as you'll see, some of the information is our full year end of what we ended the year with for 2023. So here is kind of our calendar, what it looks like. Again, I know this is difficult to read, but on the following slide is actually a breakdown of all of these events that are listed here. The last 2 weeks that you see there in pink, from the 18th through the 29th, that was blocked off for interior work to be done, so the stage being painted, carpet shampooed, touch-up paint backstage, etc. Here is a list of events that we held. We had another Arts for Youth program, Magic School Bus, which had approximately 585 students, give or take. We had the Federal Way Symphony. They did a rehearsal and their performance. The Federal Way Youth Symphony performance, our monthly Greater Chamber Luncheon. We had national touring artist, the Canadian Brass Band. The City of Federal Way Public Works held their quarterly meeting. We worked with Tacoma Arts Live. They brought 2 performances of Divina and the Vagabonds in December. And then we had the Federal Way Chorale. They did a rehearsal as well as a sold-out performance, and Fusion Santa Brunch. And then we had 2 performances of a national touring Oh Christmas Tea. One was sold out, the matinee was sold out, and the evening was at about 85% capacity. Moving on to the next. So again, some photos of some of those events that we held. With Oh Christmas Tea Chorale. Those pictures there are of Oh Christmas Tea and the Magic School Bus. We had a total of 10 usage days for the month of December. This slide here is through the year. So we sold a little over 27,000 tickets to all of our events at the PAC. For the year of 2023, which was approximately a total of 125 events. That's not ticketed events, but that's total events that were held in the facility. Again, kind of what our clients are saying, and a little bit of feedback from the show promoter and the tour manager with Oh Christmas Tea. And then with one of our resin arts organizations, the Federal Way Chorale, on their sold-out performance in December. This here is a snapshot of our website analytics, where kind of the views that we're getting, the cities, again, kind of where they're coming from, whether it's Google, Facebook, SoundEdge, social media, et cetera, kind of some of our Google Ads metrics. When they do go to the website, where are the top 10 landing pages that they're going to, and then some of our Google ad campaigns on how we are measuring those, and the types of devices that folks are going to our website with. Again, some more marketing data and analytics with our email database. That grew from November to December by about 3,500, so that's an increase. We continue to see, which we feel is a pretty good open rate with our email when we send e-blasts, and our click-through rate of 1.9%. Our direct revenue email, so that is, again, when we send email e-blast, we have direct ticket links on those e-blasts. And for December, the couple of shows that we did generated close to about $4,000 in direct revenue. And then our Facebook followers, a little over 4,400. That increased by 53 for the month of December. And then our total reach, a little over 100,000 for the month of December.
Quick question, back on that slide.
Yep.
If you want to go back to the previous one. So the email database, you say, grew by about 3,500?
Yeah.
Did the open rate and click-through rate remain consistent?
The
Or-
open rate, I believe, went from 36.3 to 36.8%, so it was very marginal. And the email click-through stayed about the same.
Okay, so then that's good with the database growing, that's, yeah.
Yep,
or-
we didn't
okay.
see a decrease.
Okay.
We would like to see a little bit higher, but that's what it was in December. And then this slide here provides, a breakdown of kind of our 4 or 5 top categories. The first column is the actuals for December of 2023. The second column is for the total year, so that's where we ended up. And then the third column provides a comparison versus 2022, and then how we measured in a percentage of increase. So we listed them all out with ticket revenue up 38%, rental revenue up 16% over 2022, facility fees 16%, food and beverage 29%, and then expenses up about 15%.
I don't follow for example, on ticket revenue,
Yep,
so that the year end for 2023 was 845,000,
yep.
and the year end for 2022 is 328,000?
No, so that last column, in 2022, it was approximately 500,000, give or take.
Oh,
So
okay.
we increased by $328,000 over what
okay.
the previous
All right.
was for the end of the year in 2022.
Yeah, yeah. But personally, it seems like it'd be better on the graph to show what the numbers, what the actual numbers were for 2022, and then what the
Okay.
percentage increase, rather than, it's kind of confusing.
I can provide that to you.
Yeah, well, I mean, just for future.
Sure.
Just for future months.
Yep.
So yeah, it's easier to, anyway, just to see the raw numbers and the increased number, so. All right. All right. Sorry about the interruption there.
No, you're fine. No problem. Again, kind of our hotel partners with the La Quinta and the Courtyard by Marriott. In December, we didn't have a ton of hotel rooms, only 10 at the La Quinta. The Courtyard by Marriott reported 0. And then this here is a snapshot, this map of where tickets were purchased for our shows that were held in the month of December. So obviously a lot of concentration in, the Seattle and Federal Way area, but you can see as far away as, Alaska, Washington, down into the LA, San Diego area where people are purchasing tickets. We don't know if they're actually attending, but that's where the credit card is tied to. So I'll be very honest, some of these may be a third-party ticket scalper, but we can only provide and present the data that we have. With some of our shows, we do, I'll say, block ticket zip codes from out of state, or, you know, say we'll be able to provide Washington, Idaho, Oregon, but if there's, you know, Florida or something like that, if we work with the promoter and the agent where they're seeing a big uptick in reseller of tickets, we'll, you know, scale that back and put those parameters on the e-tix and what we can and can't do. So we actually had to do that for Matt Matthews, which is a comedian coming up in April. And then we have, some of these have already passed, but when this document was created, we had Epic Queen was on February 2nd, which is a local or regional Queen tribute band. We had the Tacoma Opera. They were in the facility for 10 days. They did 3 performances. They were in the facility from February 3rd to yesterday, I believe it was. And then upcoming this Thursday, as many of you are aware, hopefully you are aware of the State of the City address this Thursday. And then next
something
week,
about
you
that.
weren't aware? And then on Sunday, we have the Greatest Piano Men. Next week, Lennar Northwest with a luncheon. February 24th, Auburn Symphony Orchestra. Sunday, February 25th, Voctiv, February 28th, Dino Live. February 29th, Black Jacket Symphony. They're doing their rendition of Pink Floyd. They were with us in November. We rebooked them. We have already surpassed the amount of tickets sold in November. And at this show on February 29th, we will be announcing them coming up in November of 2024. So really showing some great numbers and increasing that with Black Jacket Symphony. And then on Saturday, March 2nd, we have the Federal Way Public Schools District Band Concert with various school districts performing at the PAC. And then every Wednesday or weekly, we continue to have the Federal Way Youth Symphony rehearsals. And available to answer any questions to the best of my ability.
All right, Councilmember McDaniels.
Real quick, so we finally got through 2023. Do you feel the numbers that we would generate in 2003 were probably the closest we've been to average for a few years now with COVID and everything like that? Is that pretty much what we're going to be looking at for events and activities, or do you think there's more room for growth on that?
There is more room for growth both on the banquet or event side as well as on the touring and ticketing side.
So is that rentals or is that, okay, so food and beverage, is that what you're saying? One of the
Yeah,
areas
food and
you're doing?
beverage. So we kind of break our categories up into theater, you know, if it's inside the theater with a ticketed or non-ticketed event.
Okay.
And then what we call in the industry, you know, meetings, banquets, non-catered event that we have in the lobby and the event space. So we will anticipate a growth in both of those in 2024. That's what we're projecting.
Okay, thank you.
With anything from Councilmember Sefadossin?
No, I don't have any
All
questions.
right.
Thank you.
So just another quick question on, you mentioned there was, at least one showed out show. Are there, are more shows reaching closer to the full house stage? Or is that about the same?
It depends on the artist and the show. You know, I mean, the Federal Way Chorale, they've been performing, you know, twice a year for 6 years. This past December was the first time they sold out. You know, I think it really kind of depends on the show, the date, kind of where they're routing around us, if there's enough gap that we try to put what we call a radius clause. You know, and as we continue to be better with our marketing efforts and more strategic about that, we are seeing, you know, shows doing better than, you know, what we project. And even, now some of the local ones, like the Federal Way Symphony or the Federal Way Chorale, it's kind of hit and miss depending on their December performances always do better than some of their other shows throughout the year. But, for, Black Jacket Symphony, as an example, they're thrilled with the numbers where we are, today, and we still have 2 weeks and room to go and already surpass what they did. We have Jimmy Falia coming up in April. He was here in March of 2023. We did 584 tickets in March of 2023. Yeah, 2023. And we expect to surpass that number and have close to a sellout because he's gained momentum. He's coming out with a book that we're working with some local and regional books and kind of having a book signing and, those types of things.
Okay, all right, thank you, thank you. And also, the Epic Queen concert was phenomenal drummer.
Yeah, they did a wonderful job. Thank you.
All right. All right. If no other questions, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Let's see. And next is, get back to the top here. Item F, Tree Services Contract Amendment Number 3.
Good evening, Council. My name is George Ritchin. I am your Parks and Facilities Manager. I am here before you tonight to present an amendment to our tree services contract. And the policy question is, should the City Council authorize an amendment to the tree services contract to add an additional $100,000 in compensation to address increased project costs? A little bit of background on this. This is currently funded out of our Urban Forestry Fund. And due to higher than anticipated tree service project needs and changes in our climate resulting in an increasing service to hazardous trees, the existing tree services contracted amount has been depleted substantially. Projects such as our Alderbrook Trail project and future projects such as the Hanhui Korean Garden project, which the Alderbrook Trail involved tree work, the Hanhui will involve tree work as well, and that's helped deplete it. Other departments use that contract. That helps deplete it too. Public Works, sometimes in a great while, CD will do it as well. And for these reasons, Parks is requesting an amendment to add an additional $100,000 in compensation to the current contract to cover increased project costs from past and future tree service projects. So the options before you are approve proposed amendment or do not approve proposed amendment and provide direction to staff. Mayor's recommendation as option 1. And with that, I open it to any questions.
Right. Any questions? Right. I don't think so. Actually, when you mentioned the Alderbrook Trail and the tree work there, I live in that area. I had a neighbor ask me the other day. The tree work resulted in a bunch of wood sitting there. Can neighbors take it home, or does it need to stay there along the trail?
If they don't, our staff will, so
Okay.
go for it.
All right. Okay, I will let them know. So, all right. All right. So yes, we'll have a happy neighbor back there. So if there's no other questions, do we have a motion?
Sure. I move to forward the proposed contract amendment for the February 2024 consent agenda.
We could just barely hear you, but I think that I caught that.
Can you hear me better now?
Yeah. I second the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that time I heard you loud and clear. So, all right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And thank you, George. So, item G, King County Youth and Amateur Sports Grant Application, free 2024 Youth Summer Soccer Camps. All right, it looks like you have this one and the next one.
Yes. Thank you, Committee Chair Walsh, Council President Kochmar, and fellow council members. My name is Kevin Hutchinson. I'm the Recreation Manager. I will be presenting 2 agenda items for you today. Both are requests to apply for grants. Your first one is the King County Youth and Amateur Sports Grant application for a free youth soccer camp. Your policy question in front of you is, should the council authorize staff to apply for a $25,000 grant from the King County Youth and Amateur Sports Grant for the Get Active, Stay Active program to provide 2 soccer summer camps in 2024? A bit of background information for you is that we applied and received this grant last year. And so we did run 2 soccer camps in partnership with the Federal Way Youth Soccer Association. They provided the staff, the curriculum, and equipment to run the camp at Celebration Park. We held 1 week in June for 5 to 8-year-olds and for 9 to 12-year-olds. And we served 133 total youth last year in those camps, and we hope to continue that partnership with the Federal Way Youth Soccer Association and run the same type of camp again this summer. So with that, I can answer any questions you may have.
All right. Councilmember Sefa Dawson.
Yeah, I do have a question. Last year when you gave us this proposal, I had asked if this is like on a sliding scale, because some people who can't afford it, we can better serve that way. But also I had asked if we also covered equipment for those who cannot afford, like cleats and whatever it is that they need. So did we do that, and are we planning on doing that again?
Yes, I apologize. I should have covered that. The camp would be completely free to all individuals. And then each camper receives a shirt and a soccer ball at the end of camp.
So what if someone needs a cleat, need cleats because they just don't have the funding to do that? Is there a provision where we could provide those tools based on the family income?
Yes, I'm actually meeting with Federal Way Youth Soccer Association in a couple weeks, and that particular subject did come across in our discussions. They are willing to provide equipment for those in need. Haven't had those broader topic discussions yet because I have not applied for the grant, so we don't actually know if we're running the program or not, but those discussions are happening, and they are willing to provide some type of equipment. We're just not sure exactly how much and what that equipment would be yet.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, because I know that's very important
Yes.
and necessary for some of our youth. So thank you.
All right. Like a great program. I don't think there's any other questions. Do we have a motion?
I move forward the proposed grant application to the February 2024 consent agenda for approval.
And I second the motion. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It carries unanimously. And on to item H, the same thing, King County Youth and Amateur Sports Grant application for Teen Outdoor Trip Series.
Yes. Again, thank you. This would be a grant application for the same King County Youth and Amateur Sports Grant. This one would be for a teen outdoor trip series. Your policy question in front of you is, should the city council authorize staff to apply for a $25,000 grant for the King County Youth and Amateur Sports Grant Get Active, Stay Active to provide a 10-week outdoor teen trip series? So background on this program, we did run this program in 2022, the summer of 22. It was funded by a SEEK grant, which is in partnership with the Washington Recreation and Parks Association and King County. That grant is no longer active, so I'm seeking funds from this King County grant instead. During 2022, we ran with partnership of communities and schools. We ran 10 weeks of teen outdoor trip camps. So we took 16 teens each week to different locations throughout the Northwest. These are free again also to those youth. Communities and schools actually recruits the youth, underserved youth in our communities who would not otherwise have the opportunity to experience the benefits of outdoor recreation and play. So we hope to partner with communities and schools again to run this program this summer. And again, I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
All right. I don't believe we have any questions. Thank you very much. Do we have a motion?
Yes, I move to forward the proposed grant application to the February 2024 consent agenda for approval.
I second the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Kevin.
Mr. Chair, before Deputy Director Gerwin gets up here, I just wanted to apologize. I misspoke earlier about the need to remove item J. So there's two options for the committee, and I was getting ahead of myself because I was thinking about reordering the agenda instead of removal. So there's two options before the committee for that. We can either do a motion to consider the item J, and just vote it down, and then that just, it doesn't proceed, and then it can be brought back. That's probably the most flexible option. The other option would be to move to postpone it to a certain time, and that would be to the next agenda, well, to the next committee meeting, which is not going to be until April, I believe. But the most flexible option for the committee is the first item, but if you were certain you wanted to have it on the next Parks Committee meeting, you could do it to postpone to a certain time. So just wanted to make that.
Okay, so you are recommending then that we, for right now, we vote it down?
That's up to the whoever is making the motion to determine. The two options, again, are moving to consider the item, so like you would normally do, and then just vote no. That would then keep it from proceeding, and then remove it from moving on. And then the second item would be to move to postpone it to a certain time, which would be to the next Parks Committee meeting. That's less flexible, but either option is perfectly fine.
Okay. So the most flexible is to vote it down?
Correct.
Okay. All right, so that will be the one item, that's item J. So first we have item I, so let's address it, and then we will go on to item J.
Good evening, Chair Walsh and council members. Item I have before you is the 2024 Parks Commission Work Plan, which Monty Stewart, Parks Commissioner, spoke to a little bit earlier. So the policy question is, should the City Council approve the Parks and Recreation Commission 2024 Work Plan? And so the work plan was attached, pretty standard. A lot of items are carryover. There are two things that I do need to bring to your attention or speak about. And so the first is the phone in the woods. There was some conversation about that earlier. Monty brought that up. The Parks Commission has voted to put that on the work plan, and right now it's showing on the work plan, should the work plan be approved. On the work plan, it's to create a subcommittee to go out, visit sites, identify proposed sites, bring those to staff, and then ultimately the commission would select a preferred location for the phone, and then consider some other factors, because ultimately, City Council has the approval whether or not the phone will go into a park, multiple parks or not. But to me, it's still a little bit premature because we need to have that subcommittee to do the additional work, kind of flush out those items and bring the preferred alternatives forward. So that's a little bit of clarification on the phone in the woods. And then second thing I needed to bring to your attention, and it was part of the packet that was provided to you by Monty Stewart and Vice Chair Brigado. The Parks Commission voted and approved to move this forward, the work plan that's before you, forward at the January meeting. The deadline for the Parks Committee packet, which is what you've got here, was just prior to our February Parks Commission meeting. And so at our February Parks Commission meeting, we had a Parks Commissioner that requested the religious emblems topic be brought and added to the work plan. At that time, I didn't feel like one member could bring it forward, so we asked for a vote of that. It did receive a vote to be put on the Parks Commission work plan, but does not show here because we did not meet that deadline. With that being said, a little bit of additional information is this topic has been brought up a couple times. A lot of the information that was provided to you tonight has been submitted to City Council that I'm aware of 2 previous times. And so I guess part of the question tonight would be, at the Parks Commission request, they asked for me to ask for that line to be added to the draft work plan that you're considering here tonight. And so, if you had questions in regards to that, I can answer those, or if you had questions about the work plan in general, I'd be happy to answer those.
So basically, they are asking that that be studied further?
And
What is their?
and that was kind of the suggestion. As I said, I've been on the commission in all three instances where this has been asked, and it's kind of morphed a little bit. Originally, it started out with the request to have a menorah in the park. It kind of has, I'm trying to think, that was kind of how it originally came forward. Again, these materials had been provided, and it was asked of City Council for that to be considered previously. To my knowledge, I don't believe that the Parks Commission ever received a response from City Council. And so I think that lack of response is part of the thought process in them approaching it again. Again, I would want Parks Commission to speak on this or clarify, because like I say, it originally started about other religious emblems in our parks. There is now talk of there being something tied to the arts. I don't have the specific logistics on that completely nailed down. But also as kind of the week has evolved, there was some talk and concern about the religious emblems and tying to special events. And being part of the special event process. But that's confusing to me and to the rest of staff, because in regards to our special event process, we have a series of documents, forms, guidelines, and any religion and a lot of the groups we work with on special events have a religious tie, or it's a special event that a church is putting on, those sorts of things. So the full request and what that line item would be, to the best of my extent, I guess it would be to further study the religious emblems and how they relate to parks. But I don't have the full specifics, because like I say, it's changed and morphed over time. And so I don't want to put words into the Parks Commission's mouth, but to me, initially, previous chair, Michael Camp Smith had wrote a letter on behalf of the commission, and that was provided as part of this packet, and that would be what I would suggest council refers to as far as the essence of what they're looking for to have added to the work plan.
So right now, it's kind of ambiguous, just what they're asking.
It wasn't clear. They asked, like I say, they asked for me to bring that consideration up, and I would say it would be to further study that, whether that's tied to the special events or whether that's tied to having religious emblems set up in parks. I think that would all have to be fleshed out as part of probably another subcommittee if this council were to elect to put that on their work plan.
So with the work plan, can they, it seems to me as though it's kind of ambiguous right now what they want. Can a work plan be amended later, or is this?
Yes, a work plan can be amended later, and know that, to me, that the commissions work on behalf of the city council, and I work and try to help me amongst other staff. We work to put this together based on kind of what our work plan is and where we see we could use that input. Ideally, we would have a little bit more engagement from the city council in what they want to see on that work plan. This is how it's been done for years, and it's pretty standard work plan that we brought forward. A lot of these items that you see on this year's work plan were on last year's work plan, because they're a continuation of work that we didn't get completed last year. And so these were two specific requests of the Parks Commission for the 2024 work plan, being the wind phone and the religious emblems. And like I say, that I was able to, because of the deadlines, get the phone in the woods on this, and it was part of what they approved. It was because of the timing and the addition of this after these items were submitted for committee.
Yeah, so it kind of seems to me as though that it may be better to approve the work plan as written, and then if there can be further discussion on whether it's amended or not. I see Councilmember McDaniel has his light on.
Yeah, I have a legal question on this one. We had something like this pop up beforehand. If this gets moved to consent agenda, this cannot be altered at all, can it? If they want to actually do the change they're asking for, it would have to go to a council business?
So there are a couple options for how procedurally an item can be changed. If a member of this committee wanted to make an amendment to the work plan, a motion could be made to do so and presented with that amendment. And then the committee could move it forward to the full council with that amendment included within the work plan. Alternatively, the committee could vote to move it forward to the full council on the consent agenda. The council then could decide to remove it from consent, put it on business, discuss it, and amend it at that time. There's another option, sorry. If instead the council wanted to approve it as it is currently written without any amendments at all to it, and then ask the commission to come back to the council with a proposed amendment of their own, that is another option. So as Deputy Director Gerwin mentioned a few moments ago about, yes, a work plan may be amended at a later date, that is an option too. That would just be the commission bringing forward that amendment to the council for its consideration. I hope that's clear. Let me know if you have questions.
Yeah, I think the three sounded the best, kind of like what you were talking about.
Yeah, that sounds to me.
And just because I don't know if I represented the commission in the way I wanted to, and so I want to refer to former Chair Camp Smith's kind of second to the last sentence in it. And so what I believe that you'd be considering is the Federal Way Parks and Recreation Commission are committed to working with the City Council and other components of city government as deemed appropriate to develop a mechanism for approving appropriate displays of religious/cultural icons on city property during holiday seasons. But so, like I say, that's what the letter says, but there's been some talk about the arts and some other things, and so that's the heart of the original, but yeah, maybe some more
I
flesh.
can see where they want to go with this. I don't see this as a can of worms.
Yeah. And this, they have on the, this attachment, they have the City of Kirkland Special Event Services. It seems like that it's kind of apart from, I mean, that's for, if somebody wants to rent.
Yeah, and that's where there's a little
use
confusion.
park property for a special event rather than, but which we already do.
Yeah, we have provisions for special events. There's any race, religion, creed can
Yeah.
rent a special event, and if they're, renting Site 1 at Steel Lake Park and they wanted to have a religious emblem of their faith there, they're allowed to do so, and if the next day a different group rents it and they have a different religious emblem they wanted to have in the picnic shelter where they're having their special event, they're allowed to do that. We don't hold anything back in that, and that's.
All right, right. Councilmember Sefadossin, do you have any questions?
I did, but I think kind of, we just kind of touched on it as far as renting the space goes. Maybe that answers my question, but we also want to make sure that if we do move forward, and I do suggest that we do, because our city is becoming very diverse, different religions, so we want to make sure that we don't discriminate or we are inclusive and welcoming. With that, then I don't know who the burden lies on to make sure that it's done, or we move, whenever this happens, it has to come from those religious groups to say that they want to have a display wherever we designate, if that's the path we're taking. That way, then the burden doesn't fall on maybe the commission or staff only, where something gets missed. And so I think as this plan is being flushed out, that they are very careful in terms of how we manage it, or it's not going to be successful and it's going to create unintended consequences that could be very not so good. So I think that's what I would really make sure that we cover, but in terms of allowing it, I believe we should, that should not even be a question. The question is then, how do we manage? And so even if council and or the commission or staff decide to continue with the conversation, then it's the
Right.
delivery of programming, I guess, rather than it being whether or not it's even okay or it's even something we should consider. That would be my input to this. Thank you.
Your connection is a little bit weak. I think that we got the thrust of what you're saying.
I am so sorry. I'm trying my best.
No, that technology is interesting at times. So anyway, so no one's fault. So, with.
And I haven't moved. I'm just sitting in one spot, so I don't know what changed, except it's getting very
hey.
dark.
Yeah, it changes, yeah, from being clear to being a little bit garbled, so anyway. So,
All right, thank you.
I think that it would be best to, if they want to come forward later on with something more concrete. So for right now, I'll go ahead and make a motion. I move to forward the Parks and Recreation Commission 2024 work plan as written in here to the February 2024 consent agenda for approval.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, it is approved unanimously. All right.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you for your support.
And so now, very briefly.
Yeah, and so this is the item that needs decision on, and so we're
Hey,
requesting.
before we move, I want to say, their work plan is so robust and very, what do you call it? Very detailed. I just want to say thank you to the commission for the hard work that they put into this. They always come prepared and very clear as to what they plan on doing. So just wanted to shout out and let them know that we appreciate your work.
All right.
Thank you.
And I think that I speak for all of the council in saying that we appreciate the work that all of the commissions do. The commissioners
Yeah,
do a
definitely.
tremendous amount of work that is greatly appreciated. So item J.
Yes. Item J is being requested to be pulled or postponed per the council. We were all set and ready to bring this forward when the party we are looking to grant the easement to had some last-minute red lines. And so with that being said, we didn't want to have you guys making a motion on something that you hadn't seen the final form on. So I'm working with Attorney Idy to get that cleaned up, and we will bring that to the next Parks Committee meeting available, which will be April, because it's looking like March is canceled.
All right. So it sounds like it's the most clear cut if we just simply vote no on.
That is
This one, that-
definitely one of your options and would likely have the most flexibility with it.
Okay, all right.
I would suggest we do that too.
Yeah. So I once again will make a motion that we do not move this to the 2.
Chair Walsh, you might want to phrase that in the positive and just vote no.
Okay.
So the motion would be just as presented on the agenda bill, the motion language would be the same. And if you did not want it to proceed, then council members would simply vote no, and then it would not proceed to the next council meeting.
Okay. So we make a motion to,
Correct. You make the motion to move it, and then you vote no.
okay, so we make a motion to move it, we second the motion, and then we both vote no.
Correct.
All right. In that case, I'll go ahead and do another motion then. So, let's see, get the right one here. I move to forward the approval of the Lakota Park electrical line and fiber optic easement and compensation as proposed to the February 2024 consent agenda.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded. All in favor, vote aye. All opposed, vote
Nay.
no. Nay. Okay, all right.
Well done. Thank you.
Okay, we have that taken care of.
Thank you,
All right,
counsel.
and thank you, Jason. All right. Now, if that would have been done at the very beginning of the meeting, we would not have had to have gone through that, or would we?
So this is probably the clearest way of removing it. We could have had a motion in the beginning to remove an item from the agenda. It still would have been a motion. I misspoke on that earlier. At this point, it's the clearest for something to not proceed is to always vote it down.
Okay.
And that's really consistent with how Robert's Rules is phrased as well. So it's very clear that, no, we do not intend for it to move forward at this time.
Okay. And then it can always be presented at another time. Okay.
Correct, and I will do the requisite notification of the clerk.
All right. Very well. Item K, Federal Way Community Center boiler replacement. Mr. Ellsworth.
Good evening, Chair Walsh, Council President Kochmar, council members and committee members. I have some really exciting things for you this evening. And so I have a policy question before you. Is should the city council authorize to enter into a small public works contract to replace the boiler at the Federal Way Community Center using funds from the approved operating 2023-24 budget? Just a little background, the boilers at the community center were installed originally in 2007. Their original equipment, they've operated for over 10 years in a 24-hour capacity, continuing to heat both of the pools. And one of those has failed completely and needs to be replaced. And so, or have all of its guts replaced. And so we are requesting for replacement of the heat exchanger in boiler number 3, and staff anticipates that that replacement will have a similar lifespan as the other boilers, about 15 years. And it looks like we are going to have a few more weeks once that boiler is ordered until it will be installed. The funding for this boiler will come out of partial funding for $41,400. I like that. For $41,400.
And I thought I had a stutter.
$446 will be paid out of the remaining ARPA funds, and then the remaining balance of the $14,343 will be paid out of Federal Way Community Center's operating budget.
Okay. So, Councilmember McDaniel.
How many boilers do we have at the community center?
We have 3.
Sweet. And then are they going to be staggered now in age, or is it going to be 2 of the originals? This one will be a rebuild, and so we'll have like a 5-year gap kind of thing.
So in '23, boiler number 2 was rebuilt on the inside.
Okay.
And then in, I believe it was January, we just serviced the first boiler as well. So they should all have similar lifespan going forward.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
So right now, are they swimming in cold water, or is the other 2 boilers?
Other 2 boilers are operating really well. They're able to hold temperature, so if we have another cold spell, they might struggle like we had before in early January, but right now everything's going really well.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Councilmember Sefadossin, I don't see whether you have your hand up or not, so.
Yeah, I do have a question. Since it's a small public works contract, it means that it doesn't have to go out for bid, correct?
Correct. We will be contracting that out to McDonald Miller.
Okay.
All right. There's no further questions, do we have a motion?
I move to forward the small public works contract to replace the boiler at Federal Way Community Center to the February 20, 2024 City Council consent agenda for approval.
I second the motion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, carries unanimously. And then I think this is let me get back up here to the top. All right, item L, Federal Way Community Center slide and spa pump replacement.
All right, before you again is another policy question, is should the city council authorize staff to enter into a small public works contract to purchase and install these slide and spa pumps at the Federal Way Community Center, utilizing funds from our approved 2023-2024 budget? And just a little background information on kind of what's been happening is the pool pumps were also installed initially in 2007 in our original equipment to the Federal Way Community Center. They are similar to the boilers, except for they operate also in a 24-hour a day capacity and have lasted for well over 10 to 15 years. And so both of those pumps have failed and need to be replaced. We are requesting for purchase and installation of the hot tub, spa, and jet pump that creates the bubbles in the spa and the hot tub, and why those have not been operating. And then the motor and pump that controls the slide water supply also needs to be replaced, as it is beginning to fail as well. And staff anticipates that replacement pumps will have a similar lifespan as the existing equipment that's been in the community center, and it will take about 12 weeks once we're authorized to move forward with this to have those pumps replaced in both areas. And total cost for replacement of the slide and the jet spa pump is $29,708.78. And these funds are approved and will be paid for out of our operating budget for the Federal Way Community Center.
Okay. Right. Any questions? All right. Seeing none, do we have a motion?
I move to forward the small public works contract to purchase and install the slide and spa pumps at Federal Way Community Center to the February 2024 City Council consent agenda for approval.
And I second the motion. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
It's carries unanimously. And before you leave, for both of the people who are watching online right now, what is the latest idea of when the new temporary showers will actually be operational and back?
I'll do my best to answer this. I think John's welcome to, but we have a whole lot of moving parts, from the sewer hookups to when the tents will arrive, to when we'll be able to finish graveling out the pad in the back. So we've got probably 7 or 8 large moving parts that are happening all at once. And so I can't give a definitive on when that'll happen, but we look like we're probably, my best guesstimate would be a couple of weeks out before we're able to have those.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, a couple of weeks, that's a good, gives people a general.
We're working
idea.
quickly, certainly getting a lot of calls and emails about that, but responding with that same response.
Okay.
that-
All right. Thank you, and thank you for all the work that you're doing on it.
Yeah.
So to all the staff there.
We'll work on not spending so much money in the future.
So, all right. And with that, the final agenda item, M, a report on Dumas Space Center operations.
Chair, while we're awaiting the technology, I just want to acknowledge that we had a full staff meeting of Parks and Recreation tonight. We had all 6 managers and a deputy director present to you this evening. So
All right.
I feel like you're welcome to our staff meeting. So
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you. We feel privileged and honored. So. While that is, just to best utilize our time, while that is being found, the next meeting will not be in March. We will not be holding a March meeting, since most of the council will be in Washington, D.C. at that time. And so the next meeting will be April 9th, right here at 5 o'clock. And if there are items that would normally be going on the Parks agenda in March, that will instead go on the
So,
FedRAC.
Chair, I'm wondering, did, Councilmember McDaniel, did you have anything you wanted to ask to have put on the Parks agenda?
I believe we have a meeting coming up on Thursday next week, and after that, I'll know more, but yes.
Good evening, Chair Walsh, Council President Kochmar, committee and council members. Thanks for being here, and it's a pleasure to be here to share about the Duma Space Center. I appreciate the opportunity. This is probably the first time that Dumas Bay has presented for a while, and it's absolutely my first time ever. So I don't really know exactly what you're wanting, but I'm hoping to give you a snapshot of the first quarter for the Duma Space Center, and to kind of collect some intel to give you a little bit of a better viewpoint the next time that I see you up here. Chair Walsh, I know you said that calendars are a little hard to read, so what I wanted to show you primarily is the amount of time that the Duma Space Center is in use. And then I'm going to go through each month and give you a little bit more of an in-depth view about what you see on these calendars. So January, looking backward a bit, the center had a total rental revenue of $21,602.36. I thought that I had included our total days of use.
It's on our handout, it's 25.
Thank you. For some reason, it did not end up on what I'm looking at, so forgive me for that. Are there any questions about January?
I don't think so. So, I mean, that's great usage.
Wonderful. As we move into February and March, I want to make sure that it's clear that this is all projected. Things can happen, rentals can fall by the wayside, and many things change between now and whatever you might see. It's also really important to me to point out that there's ebb and flow to Dumas Bay's business, and we have slower months, we have busier months. Even busier months may have a lot of ebb and flow in the fact that groups can be small in nature and easier to service, and some groups might be quite large and take up less time in the building, but be more demanding on time, effort, and resources. So with February here, we have a rental revenue of $62,195.70. As you see, the catering revenue is still quite small, and that's because we don't typically finalize catering orders until about a week prior to the event. So most of that is all up in the air. Are there any questions about our February calendar or totals?
I guess my one question would be, how does, do you have any comparisons with year over year?
I do indeed. Forgive my clumsiness while I look that up on my computer. So our last, I would say the last year that we could truly do a great comparison with, obviously 2023 is our first full year after the pandemic. It's my first full year at Duma Space Center as the manager. Prior to that, 2019 is the most obvious year to do any type of comparison to. In 2023, our total conference room rental was $482,574 versus 2019, which was $458,644. So in 2023, we had approximately a $24,000 increase, which I'm quite proud of after coming out of a lot of turmoil.
Yeah, that sounds excellent, yes. Good work.
Thank you.
I just, oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll let you wait till you get to the end. I just had some general questions, but if you have more detailed information, I'm just gonna listen.
You got it. So this is a snapshot of the upcoming business for March. And we see here a projected rental revenue of $76,963. And I would love to answer any questions that you have.
You have questions now?
So I'll just throw my questions out now. What is, like, since the first time you presented to us, it's the first time we're kind of hearing about this, can you actually give me a little detail of, like, what the ebb and flow is, like, what months are busy and then what activities happen? Like, also, what is the recreation programs, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday? What is that?
So in regards to the ebb and flow,
Yeah.
December is historically our slowest month. It's quite slow in December. January is also a historically fairly slow month. Business really picks up in February, and we will have a steady stream of business roughly until October. It does start to taper off in November. As far as the recreation programming is concerned, the Recreation Department utilizes the Dumas Space Center for youth dance, creative movement, and gymnastics programs. That happens Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays currently. We also host STEM and other camps during the summer months.
Okay, interesting. All right, thank you.
All right. All right. Councilmember Rasefa Dawson, did you have any questions? I don't.
After he's done, I just want to ask, it's not related to this, it's just related to the incidents that happened over the weekend.
Yes.
Oh, boy.
When you're done.
I think he's done. So I think now's the time for your,
Sure.
any other
Oh,
questions.
Hello,
Okay,
Lydia. It's
hi, that was really my question because I don't think I've ever heard there were issues at Dumas Bay until now. So I'm just curious about,
It was, it honestly was a terrible thing that happened. I don't think there's any other thing to say. A group of bad characters came into the Dumas Bay parking lot. It was a coordinated attack, a driver and four individuals who, within the space of 5 minutes, created a lot of chaos and damage to our patrons. And it's very unfortunate. What I would like to say is that we had a really amazing response from the Federal Way Police Department. I'd also like to thank my director, who also came down personally to help out that evening. And I'd like to thank the mayor, who was notified on that evening and who also had a really compassionate response. We're working on some ways to cut down on bad behavior at Dumas Bay. It is, I would say, for no lack of effort. It is a secluded location in an area that has been hit hard by other really terrible things, specifically what happened this morning, which was really a few blocks away. So we do the best that we can. We have a lot of security cameras. We have staff on site during all of our events. But even with all of that, these things happen. I would also like to point out that the group that was involved in this evidently was involved with the destruction of several other locations. And so this seems to be a random, but also, again, just a really terrible thing that happened.
yeah, and it's unfortunate, but I'm concerned about staff safety in that location because you start one way and who knows what's going to happen next. So hopefully, you guys, your safety is not compromised and that, we have, you have our full support and whatever we're possible.
Thank you so much. I would like to toss the ball to John, just so he could chime in as well.
Hello, Councilmember Safadatsan. So I'd like to echo what David has mentioned about the police response and the mayor's support throughout this. We are taking active measures right now to address this going forward. But it was, as David mentioned, a coordinated attack across the city, numerous businesses, and churches were hit Sunday morning, as you're aware. So it was an unfortunate situation that happened that evening. Our staff was never in danger. It was all out in the parking lot. They were in and out in under 7 minutes from the time they entered to gone. It was a smash and grab operation. It was unfortunate, but our staff is safe and knows not to approach, and they immediately did all the right things as far as calling law enforcement and doing all the right things.
Good to hear. Do we have cameras there?
Yes, we have numerous cameras, and we caught the whole thing on camera.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. All right. Any more questions? Yeah. Okay, thank you, David. Thank you for your great work down there, and we look forward to a report on a quarterly basis.
Thank you. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
And
Have a
a
good
great,
evening.
great report and great work.
Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, I think that is, we already, hold on just a second here. Let me scroll back up to the top. That's a long scroll. We've already announced the next meeting will be April 9. And with that, if there's no further business, we are adjourned.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lydia.